preached on several women like Rahab, and I called it the bad girls of the Bible. Because Rahab was one of them real housewives of the Bible. It becomes interesting because she's a person with a spotty past. I'm just going to give it to you raw and dirty tonight. She was a prostitute. She was a harlot. There's some commentaries and commentators that try to clean it up tonight and say she was just really an innkeeper. But every homiletical hint suggests tonight that she was a woman of the night. When you look in James chapter 2 and you look in Hebrews chapter 11, it gives us the implication, the phraseology, and the terminology that she was the woman of the evening. She was an individual that had no concern, no restraints about exposing the most intimate part of who she is with a stranger. She was a harlot. And there are those that try to clean it up, but I'm trying to give it to you unsanitized tonight. I want you to feel the weight of who she was, because if you understand who she was and then you see that God used her, what it reminds us tonight, that if God can use a woman like Rahab, who was a harlot, then somebody ought to shout tonight that God can use somebody like you, and God can use somebody, or you act like you don't want to get excited about this tonight, but I'm trying to help you understand tonight that you ought to be glad that perfection is not a prerequisite to be used by God. Because if perfection was a prerequisite to be used by God, all of us would be disqualified. But you ought to be glad tonight that we serve a God that regardless of who you are, God still has a purpose, God still has a plan, and God still has a program. Do I got somebody to talk to? He still has a program for your life. It's what I call tonight sovereign selection. That God can use. Oh yeah, I know you got your preferences. And I know you prefer certain personalities, but I love this tonight. God can use whoever he wants to use. Whenever he chooses to use them. And he uses people with checkered and spotty past. He uses people tonight because it reminds us about the mercy of God. I didn't say grace tonight. Grace is when God gives you what you don't deserve. But mercy is when God holds back from us. Well, I just make it personal tonight. He holds back from me what I do deserve. Now, if you ain't never done nothing wrong, I ain't talking to you. You ain't never smoked, ain't never drank, ain't never gone no place you shouldn't have gone, never done nothing you shouldn't have done, never been with nobody you shouldn't have been with, then you're exempt from this conversation. But if I got some folk in here know you're guilty, but the Lord done gave you another chance. I didn't say a second chance. I said the Lord done gave you another chance. Where my folk at that know you don't have so many of them, you don't lost count. Just go on and tell the Lord, thank you for another chance. And that's what happens. God has been merciful. Could have been you. Would have been you. Should have been you. Oh, help me, Holy Ghost. I want to run up that aisle tonight. But just let somebody say, God had mercy on you. Not only is it a picture about the mercy of God, but it's also a picture about what faith can do. Look at Rahab. You could have fractured. Mr. Whitehead, you could have fractured faith. You could have incomplete faith. You could have weak faith. But whatever faith you got in him, he can do a lot for you. I'm going to slow this thing down tonight. Just a little faith can turn your life around. Because I got some people who walked in here tonight, and you got to tell the truth. People don't know what you had to go through just to get here. You had to conjure up. You had to muster up. After all the hell and hatred that you've been through, hostile environments and dismal and depressing and discouraging situations and dilemma that you've been through, it's amazing that you still got any faith left. But with the little faith you've been holding on to, I came in here to tell you tonight, that little faith can turn your life around. Just a little bit of faith. I know I'm sitting here talking to somebody tonight that have figured out that life will drain you, life will wear on you, and life will leave you like you living on E and empty. But if you got just a little bit of it tonight, if you got just a little bit of faith tonight, I'm here to tell you a little bit of faith can turn your life around. Jesus said it best. He said, just faith the size of a grain of mustard seed. If you just got a little bitty faith, teeny tiny faith, and you standing before a mountain-sized issue. Now, I'm not telling you geographically and literally tonight to go out here and stand in front of a mountain and say that mountain move, and that mountain will leap out your way. But I am suggesting if you got a mountain-sized problem, you can stand in front of a mountain tonight and say to that mountain-sized problem, be moved. Or I got somebody to know, and that mountain got to get out your way. I wish I had somebody that didn't have to wait till the benediction. I need 3 of y'all in here to be able to testify tonight. Go on and tell that mountain tonight, mountain, get out of my way. That's what happens in this particular passage. This woman teaches us how you can have fractured, incomplete, and weak faith. But just with any kind of faith, God can do some amazing things. And that's what we quickly discover when we look in this particular passage. We see that this woman had enough faith that transitioned her from a harlot, and she got a holy hookup. God used this little bit of faith that she had, this weak and incomplete faith, to save not only her, but also her family.